guarantee that.
Yeah, good call. Thanks for sharing her too.
No, yeah, I think it does, and hopefully, I don't know. If you live in Alberta, come on, man, help me out here. This is getting ridiculous. Let's all take a deep breath and go, maybe I won't go to the bar today.
So this guy just says, so every single video we do, YouTube gives our IP address to a bunch of fucking
back to nerdy Ryan stuff. I want to highlight
this guy just says, so you have to check this podcast.
This month, and one of them's already out, actually.
What if 20 now we go through this again? You need to check them out.
I know we have a lot of gamers that like to listen to the show.
30 seconds this
and
time.
I finally got to play a new game for the first time in a little while. You know, I've played some older ones, but this is the first new game.
Yeah, start chopping up the radio. Start chopping up the radio.
My brother
Start chopping up the radio.
It is one of the most difficult games I have played in a very long time. Speaking of which, this game happens to be all about time. He shapes us.
That's what I was just saying. As you see this 20 years from now, he doesn't know what he's going to do. I literally just checked this.
Super.
Took a full 30 seconds for Chomo to start dumping on us. Wow. Wow, Chomo, you're so interesting.
And you die. You lose. Game over. You go to the start of World 9. The kids.
When mothers are able to send their children to school, so, you know, they're free for those many hours and they're able to devote those hours to whatever else they're doing. And now children are studying at home, which means additional work for women.
We know that liquidity is an issue. Is it still harder for women to get loans that they'll need in these difficult times?
They have very little of family support. They have very few assets in their name. So because of which getting money from the market or taking loans from the bank becomes difficult. They don't have any collateral against which they can take the loan. Now, if you look at the second surge, they traditionally had problems with liquidity, and now they will also have a failed business. So I'm only trying to imagine what the situation will be when they go back to the banks or the funders to raise money after things have eased out. It's going to be like really difficult.
So with the apparent decline of India's middle class, are its streets going to see a lot less cars and maybe be a little bit quieter? Let's hear now from two of the leading economists when it comes to the world's largest democracy. Firstly, let's talk to Praveen Krishna. He's Professor of International Economics and Business at Johns Hopkins University. He's not convinced by the Pew Research's figures.
It would be very difficult to accurately estimate how many people have dropped out of the middle class. And the main reason for this is that the data necessary to make such a calculation are simply not available. There are some estimates out there, including by Pew Research, about around 32 million people or so who've dropped out of the middle class category. I wouldn't take those numbers too seriously. I think we can all agree that it has been a difficult economic circumstance for many, including those in the middle class, including the poor. Accurate estimation is probably going to have to wait a while.
You're not sure of the figures, but do you accept the criticism that the Indian government has not done enough to stimulate the economy and help the middle classes in the same way as, say, President Biden has done?
If you go back to April, May of last year, the government did announce a fairly substantial package, which took the form of food rations to the poor. Later in the year, the government announced a very substantial package to sort of essentially keep firms afloat, provide liquidity, loans of various sorts, credit to medium and small-scale enterprises and so forth, that all added up to a very substantial amount. And I believe the number was 20 trillion rupees, which is about 10% of GDP. I imagine that if the second wave continues, the government will undoubtedly be thinking of ways in which
of our Made in Canada brand. So whenever you're ready, come visit us and check out our newly renovated suites, meeting rooms, restaurants, and enhanced safety protocols. We look forward to welcoming you to your home away from home. For more information, visit MonteCarloInns.com.
Hiring can be challenging, but ZipRecruiter makes it fast and easy. We talked to Monica Starks, who needed to hire for a pivotal role at her company, GS Group.
As the owner of a construction company, finding the right people is a very...
What's that is, Tribal? What's wrong? The wheel's stuck. Can't pull it off with you in there. Come on, hurry it up.
But I have no doubt that many of these changes are for the good. And so once we get past this, and I hope it's not going to be very long for us to get past COVID, I have no doubt that the Indian economy will do well and will be able to bounce back.
So Professor Mishra is optimistic, a rare voice of light in the gloom that surrounds India at the moment. But not everyone agrees with those views. One of them is Professor Jyoti Ghosh, an Indian-born economist who's currently teaching at the University of Massachusetts. She thinks the numbers who have left the Indian middle class are much higher than the Pew estimates.
I think it's an underestimate. I think there will be many more million people. It depends how you define the middle class, but many observers have said that the middle class in India is now about 150, 200 million people. I believe that the period before the pandemic and then the pandemic itself have so decimated regular employment in what we would call formal work that it would have shrunk to about half of its former size.
But you've
got a funny way of counting. Wouldn't it be the middle third? Your population, there should be like 300 million, not 200. It don't make no sense.
Everyone, your safety is our #1 priority.
Oh, that'll be in sports.
To lead this organization. Brown first joined the Rockets in 2002 as Vice President of Corporate Development.
Motherfucker.
First thing that comes to mind is poker. Right? You have drafting of Yao Ming, the arrival of Tracy McGrady.
To use credit score, meaning up to 55% in discounts. Call Vashon today.
I am Conrad Vashon, and we're your insurance broker. Vashon Insurance Group. Call 416-239-3373. That's 239-3373. This Sunday morning on Your Life, Your Money. To commute or not to commute. With a defined benefit pension, you may have some options.
Actually started within the same week with Yao. Brown's resignation will turn the Rockets further different from what it has been in these years. Coach Mike D'Antoni has left before Paul, Westbrook, and Harden did, all of which happened after Tillman Fertitta bought the team from Leslie Alexander for $2.2 billion in September 2017. Brown acknowledged that the changes of the franchise influenced his decision, saying that it was a really challenging fall. The people who left meant a lot to him. Fertitta said in a statement,
Fresh, regain momentum, reconnect with your customers, reach new ones. Whether they're listening, watching, or clicking, we're here to help you press refresh on your business. CourseCreative.ca.
It's dark out, but we'll keep the lights on. It's The Shift with Shane Hewitt.
Good morning. Thank you for listening to The Shift. I am Shane Hewitt. On the Shift Daily Podcast, today, social media expert Jesse Miller lets us know if we have digital consent. What is digital consent and why is it so important? What freedoms do we give up when we post on social media as well? Video game companies are pushing loot boxes in video games. What are loot boxes? It's kind of like pay $5, spin the wheel, get what you get. It's online gambling. And you don't get paid out in cash, but you get paid out in other video game add-ons. Handy Andy Barrar joins us on the Shift podcast to help us understand what's going on there. Are You Okay with Porta Potties is also an amazing reason to listen to the podcast. Download the podcast from your favorite podcast sites. It's all there for you. Feel free to grab it and share it with your friends. And how about jetpacks? There's a video that has come out. I want you to imagine this. A man is on the back of a boat. He's kind of got a jetpack on and these big giant nozzles on his hands. Kind of very Iron Man-esque. He basically just blasts off this one ship and flies over to the other ship and lands. It's UK commandos, and they're flying from ship to ship over the sea with their new jetpack. Now, it's an amazing story. Brian, awesome or not awesome?
It's the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Ever?
Ever. I mean, real life tech, yeah, like it's a jetpack. You can fly 12,000 feet in the air in this thing. It's ridiculous. I want it. I know that I would probably crash and burn instantaneously and ruin it, but man, for that 10 seconds that I could probably fly, yeah, worth it.
Nice. It looks really cool. So we'll try to get more on that on the shift tonight for you as well. So dig into that one. In other news today we didn't get to touch on, Bill and Melinda Gates have shared that they're going to end their marriage, get a divorce. They were like the couple that was always well aligned. They always were. But if you watch the documentaries, there's one on Netflix called, I think it's Bill's Brain, something like that. You see that he's a bit of a strange cat. She seems incredibly patient. But they're ending their marriage, and according to Google, $130 billion that guy's worth. They're going to work together on the foundation too. But
65.
Who would have thought
65.
that Mark Zuckerberg was, of all the super hyper rich, was going to be the normal one to keep his marriage? Because Bezos broke up last year. Elon Musk's relationships kid is like a symbol.
That actually makes Mark
and then all the blocks just went into
if you understand.
You could say just cheering, singing, leaping about. It was just an explosion of emotions, just because we believed this would save his life. We've actually won here. Our demands were to be treated as political prisoners. One of us has now just been elected as a member of Westminster Parliament, so the whole idea of criminalisation has been sort of blown out of the water.
The British government didn't agree. The election didn't change anything. Bobby Sands was a convicted criminal. There would be no political status. And so Bobby Sands died on the 5th of May, 1981, aged 27.
I suppose by the time he died, we were prepared for it. We knew it looked probably that was going to happen now, because there was a couple of days where he was in a coma or moving and out of one, so either there was going to have to be something very quickly or he would die. So actually the wings were very just quiet. The thought that was in our minds was, if they let an MP die, then they'll definitely let these other three die.
And that's what happened. 7 days after Bobby Sands, Francis Hughes died. Raymond McCreish and Patsy O'Hara died 9 days after that. Other prisoners would have to take their place.
There was a decision then taken later on by the camp staff that the numbers actually on hunger strike would be increased. So for a period in June, there would be someone join it each week, each Monday, and I was one of those people who joined it on the 29th of June.
That Monday, Lawrence McEwen refused breakfast. He was taken to the prison doctor, weighed, and warned the prison authorities wouldn't intervene to save him. The hardest thing, he says, in those first days wasn't hunger, it was cold.
Each block that we were held in the Maze prison on Cache was always a very dumpy area that the jail was constructed on. Even if you were eating, you could still always feel cold. Just now, with not eating, it felt worse. And at one time I had something like 12 blankets. I'd asked for extra blankets. And what everybody always asked was, were you hungry? I think particularly in those initial days, there's a real feeling of emptiness. But after a few days, whether it's your stomach shrinking or whatever, it changes. But the other thing about it is, I think when you've made a decision that you're not going to eat, the feeling of hunger is different. There's always the idea it'd be nice to eat. There wasn't a thing of being off food like we used to in the hospital. All the people in hunger strike talk about the meals we'd have once the hunger strike was over. It was only as the days went by that you realise that you're getting a bit more weaker. And I first realised that by sitting up quickly in bed and feeling dizzy or nauseous. I think for me the first real awareness of the impact was when I was moved to the prison hospital, which was after 21 days. And we could have a bath, and normally down in the blocks it was a shower, and I'd been advised not to run the water in the bath too warm because I was obviously in a weaker state and how this could affect you. And I thought I needed the advice, and it ran a bath which wasn't too warm as I thought. And I got in, the first thing I realised was that at that stage it was very difficult to sit because my hips had almost disappeared. But the next thing was I almost fainted in the bath. I thought I was actually taking a heart attack or something.
Even tepid water had become too hot for his body. There were other physical changes too.
Around about 40 odd days, there was a time where I could see double in a very, very clear way. So the images you see, even though they were double, were exactly, were vivid. Lights started to affect you, particularly fluorescent lights that were in the cell. And simultaneous with your eyesight going, sense of smell got much stronger. Floor polish that put down the floor, even though it was some distance away, was overwhelming.
Lawrence says the worst part, though, was watching others die and watching what happens to the human body when it's near death. Some listeners may find this distressing.
One of the things that we did discover after a period of time was that before people died, and some people died very suddenly and unexpectedly, others died at a point where obviously they'd been on hunger strike so long, you imagine they were going to die any time, was that people's bowels would open, which would be like the first time from the start of the hunger strike. And it's a bit like people getting hanged, and apparently that's what was happening. It was like their body's reaction to it, and it was like this was in reverse, because it had happened to a couple of people, and it was a very painful experience and a very lengthy experience. And immediately after it, people's energy, whatever they had remained that time, seemed to really drop, and usually died within 2 to 3 days of it. And I'd seen this with a number of people who died in the hospital when I was there, and the same happened to myself after, it was about 68 days. At that point flagged it up for me that I was now in the last 2 to 3 days. But at that stage you're so exhausted anyway. Like prior to that, I was getting out of bed each day even just to be helped by an orderly. Whereas once that had happened to me, that was it, you're just confined to bed. And it was at that point when my parents were allowed in.
10 Republican prisoners had now died on the hunger strike. The political fallout for the British government was huge, and families were beginning to intervene, taking their loved ones off the hunger strike when they became unconscious. And that's what happened to Lawrence.
I was on a drip. I think I was on 2 drips. It was pretty soldiers at the bottom of the bed. And I realised, obviously very quickly, what had happened, that I'd gone into a coma, and I assumed my mother, and that authorised what I assumed it would have been my mother. And people do ask, well, how did you feel? And I said I was neither happy to be alive nor sad to be alive. I was in a state of knowing I existed.
The hunger strike was officially called off on October the 3rd, 1981. Lawrence McEwen was finally released from jail in 1992. And that's it from this archive edition of the programme.
The next 11 years,
to more of our first-hand accounts from the past, just search online for BBC Witness History. And you can subscribe to a free daily download of the programme. Just search for BBC Witness History wherever you get your podcasts.
Service CEE Elevator has offered the best customer service in the business.
Or you can just say 干红 for short.
干红。
这里有白葡萄酒和红葡萄酒，你要哪种？
我想喝干红。
Keywords reminder: I'd like a Scotch. 我要一杯苏格兰 whisky. On the rocks. 要加冰吗 I want it straight. 不加。
I'm going to have to ask you to just drive to the next window for your order, because there are people waiting behind you.
Oh, yeah, sorry. The next window. Yeah, right over there.
Areas. NPR has learned that the Biden administration will try to address the problem head on. What's the plan? We'll have more on Morning Edition from NPR News.
Was entertainment.
O'Toole says his party will ask the House of Commons to support a motion calling on and the world.
News. I'm Zhou Fang. At least 20 people are dead and around 70 others injured after an overpass carrying Mexico City's metro train cars partially collapsed onto a road. There are people still trapped inside the train, which was split in two and suspended. The collapse occurred on the newest local metro line, which stretches far into the city's south side. Like many of the city's dozen subway lines, Line 12 runs underground through more central areas of the city of 9 million, but then runs on elevated pre-formed concrete structures on the city's outskirts. For more, here is Alasdair Baverstock in the Mexican capital.
Fire crews continuing to pull people from the wreckage. This entire train is still
seen. It has the potential risk of causing a rare and new,
including a big fire at its Central Command earlier this year. Mexico's Secretary of Foreign Affairs, Marcelo Ebrard, is also under scrutiny. Line 12 was built while he served as mayor, and since then, the line has faced technical failures and corruption allegations. El Metro turned 50 in 2019, and it's one of the largest subway systems in the world. For NPR News, I'm Rodrigo.
To less than 16 weeks for most people.
The main factors here which people believe to have caused this is problems following earthquakes. Mexico, and particularly Mexico City, is very active seismologically. There's a lot of earthquakes here. The last big one we had was in 2017, so earthquakes are seen as a cause here, but for the moment, blame is not the concern here. What the concern is now is saving as many lives as possible.
6 people are dead and 3 others injured after a 6-car pileup in Zhejiang province. The accident took place late Monday on a highway in Huzhou City. Officials say the injured are receiving treatment and their condition is stable.
As a Christian, a lawyer for the province has previously said there are safeguards in place to prevent abuse of power. Will Reimer, Global News.
And questions are being raised about an independent review that's led to the resignation of one of Rugby Canada's most successful coaches.
Would reopen in September, with more coming back during the fall. But Governor...
He filed undisclosed complaints against him. A third-party investigation found Tate's behavior did not violate Rugby Canada's policies on harassment or bullying. Still, the longtime coach said his position had become untenable, so he was stepping down. Former player Frederic Rosette says they feel the processes in place failed them, but are hopeful their courage will pave the way for change. Rugby Canada is promising after this summer's Olympics that it will conduct an independent review of the women's sevens and other programs to hear concerns of players and staff. Kylie Stanton, Global News.
In sports, 3 matchups in the NHL's North Division. The Edmonton Oilers become the second Canadian team to clinch a playoff spot with their 5-3 win over the Vancouver Canucks.
He emerged from his vehicle with a weapon and was engaged by law enforcement officers. CNN reported that the suspect yesterday. The national railway sector handled 13.6 million passenger trips, down slightly from Sunday. Traffic flows on roads dropped as well as the country entered the 3rd day of the Labor Day holiday. According to the Ministry of Transport, over 51.5 million trips were made nationwide through railways, roads, waterways, and civil aviation on Sunday, with around 34 million trips made on roads alone. Health officials say India's COVID-19 tally has crossed the 20 million mark. More than 357,000 new cases admissions set for the coming fiscal year. On Monday outside the Central Intelligence Agency headquarters in the eastern U.S. state of Virginia. Investigators say the subject emerged from his vehicle with a weapon and was engaged by law enforcement officers. CNN reported that the suspect initially drove up to the CIA's gates late Monday morning and made statements suggesting there was a bomb in his vehicle. U.S. President Joe Biden on Monday formally raised the nation's cap on refugee admissions to 62,500 this year. The new policy is effective
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Roundtable, coming to you live.
Yes, the new number marked an increase from the 15,000.
Going to Mars and fly it around, but we can't put out a forest fire. Something's wrong there. Cheers, he says. You know, and that's a very good point. There is a certain amount of, hey, we should probably figure out our planet before we go screwing up other planets. But there's also that little thing called profit. And going to space can make you money. Putting out a forest fire can make money for the water bomber companies and whatever, which, by the way, if you want to check out amazing documentaries, Google Coulson and the Hawaiian Mars water bombers. They're mind-blowingly amazing. And there's a couple of amazing planes showed.
As in, you know, if she wants to shut us up.
She can just push the mute button.
And there's not much we can do. Yeah, so what about you, Wang Shen? What kind of mood and mode are you at now? Most people out there in this country, they're still at holiday mode.
How can you have people working for it? How can there be any more important job? Well, I don't want to do it. Now be reasonable, Tom. Put yourself in my position. This inspector comes and he meets Billy Painter, our police chief. He asks to see the jail. Then he says, no prisoners? How can I hold my head up and tell him that we don't have any crime? No crime, you say? But Earth colonies always have crime. Don't you see that? No? Right there, the whole thing falls through. He'll see that we're not truly Earth-like. We're faking it. We're aliens. You heard what he said about being rough on me. Well, yeah, but why me? Can't spare anyone else. And you've got narrow eyes. Criminals always have narrow eyes. Well, they aren't that narrow. Tom, please, we're all doing our part. You want to help now, don't you? Oh, I suppose so. Fine, you're our criminal. Here, I've got this paper all made out for you, just to make it legal. Skulking permit. Know all men by these presents that Tom Fisher is a duly authorized thief and murderer. He is hereby required to skulk in dismal alleys, haunt places of low repute, and to break the law. What's the law? I'll let you know as fast as I make them up. All Earth colonies have laws. Oh, well, what do I do? You steal and kill. Look, I'll give you a couple of books on it. Steal as much as you like. One murder should be enough. It don't sound sensible somehow. Well, you can work up to it, Tom. Why don't you start off easy, like by haunting a place of low repute?
Hello, Tom. I hear you're our official criminal now. That's right. I have a beer. How's it going? Well, I've been studying. I can't put my finger on it yet. Hey, did you get the weapons Mary Carpenter sent over? Yeah, hatchet, a spear, 2 knives, and a blackjack. Uh-huh. I stuck myself with a spear. The whole thing ain't sensible to me. I can't figure out what's the purpose of crime. What do people get out of it? Here's the beer. I tried a new route this time. Tell me how you like it. Very dry. Less filling. How come you ain't out thieving now, Tom? Oh, I'm planning. My permit says I have to haunt places of low repute, and that's why I'm here. Well, this ain't no place of low repute. You serve the worst meals in town. No, my wife can't cook. But there's a real friendly atmosphere here. The folks like it, Tom. It's all changed, Ed. I'm making this tavern my headquarters. It's now a criminal lair. Try to keep a nice place, and a lot of thanks you get.
Hi, Tom. You seen anything yet?
Well, not yet, Mary, no.
I'll have a paracuda, Ed. Don't worry, Tom. You'll catch on. If anyone in this village can learn, you can.
Sure, we got confidence in you, Tom.
Why don't you do something right now, Tom? Go ahead.
Well, suppose I could.
I brought some geepers in my basket. They're real ripe. You could steal those.
Well, they are nice-looking geepers, Mary. Real tasty. Go ahead, Tom. Steal it. Well, these are nice-looking geepers. Mind if I take one out the light and look at it?
No, Tom, you go right ahead.
Now, just a minute there.
Hi, Billy. What do you have?
I'm on official police business. What were you doing with that jeeper, Tom?
Just looking at it.
I don't think you were just looking at it, Tom. I think you were planning on stealing it. You're a suspicious character. I think I better lock you up for further questioning.
No, Billy. What are you doing?
I'm doing my duty, Mayor. Tom here is looking mighty suspicious. The book says...
I know what the book says. I gave you the book. You can't go arresting Tom, not yet.
But there's no other criminal in the village.
Oh, Billy, don't you understand? This village needs a criminal record. Acting suspiciously isn't a crime.
All right, but I was just trying to do my job. I'll still get you, Tom. Remember, crime does not pay.
Hey, that's a real slick way of putting it, isn't it?
I thought it was kind of catchy. I read it in the book.
Well, Tom, go ahead now. Steal something.
Well, I'm not in the mood anymore.
Better get to it soon, and don't forget the murder.
Is it really necessary?
Oh, I wish it weren't, but this colony has been here for over 200 years, and we haven't had a single murder. Not one.
Suppose we should have one.
No, I'll take care of it. Good boy, Tom. We're counting on you. Billy, I want you to paint up a couple hundred signs saying private property, no trespassing, violators will be prosecuted, and a dozen saying speed limit 35 miles an hour.
Why? All we've got is those flog horses, and they won't go faster than the walk.
Never mind. You got to have a speed limit. It's civilized. Well, that's the last of the signs, Billy. You might as well get some sleep.
Aren't you going home, Mayor?
No, I've got to get out to Fred Farmers. I appointed him postmaster. Since nobody ever sends letters around here, I promised to help him write all those letters.
Well, good night, Mayor. I guess I better be making my round.
Yeah, good night, Billy.
Who's that? Tom? Tom Fisher? You out thieving? Who's there? Don't move, or I'll shoot. Hey, Tom, come back.
Hey, what's going on out there? What's all the racket?
It's the town criminal, Ed. I think I heard him robbing your house.
Yeah?
He's made his getaway now, but don't you worry. I'll get him yet.
All right, we'll get him in the morning, will you? Some of us are trying to sleep.
Morning, Marv. How's the schoolhouse coming?
Fair. Would have come along better if I had my saw.
Your saw?
Yeah, left it leaning against my door last night. Wasn't there this morning, Tom.
Oh, yeah, your saw. Well, you know how it is, Marv. I had to practice some sculpting last night.
Yeah, sure. Say, do you suppose I could use the saw for a while, just for an hour or two?
Well, I don't know. It's legally stolen, you know.
Well, I'd give it back. I wouldn't keep anything if it was legally stolen.
Well, it's in the house with the rest of the loot.
Okay, I'll go borrow it then.
Tom, I've been looking for you.
Morning, Mayor.
Did you steal my bronze plaque?
I certainly did.
Oh, well, I just wondered.
You did it just in time. You see up there?
What?
Up there, the black dot near the rim of the sun.
Oh, what is it?
Well, I bet it's the inspector's ship.
You got your murder plan?
Time is running short, Tom. The inspector may land any hour now. That darn radio's been yapping at me something about a revolt at Deng 4, and all Earth colonies are to prepare for conscription, whatever that is. So let's get that killing over with.
I don't know, though. Murder.
Now, look, Tom, criminals on Earth commit dozens of murders a day and think nothing of it. All this village wants to do is one little killing. Is that too much to ask? Now, who would be, Tom?
I guess I'll kill George Waterman.
Why?
Why? Why not?
What's your motive?
I thought you just wanted to murder. You said anything about a motive.
We can't have a fake murder. On Earth, every murderer has a motive.
Well, I don't like the way George walks, never did, and he's noisy.
No. That might be good enough for a crime of passion, but you're a legal criminal. Tom, you're ruthless, cold-blooded, and cunning. You can't kill someone just because you don't like the way he walks. That's silly.
I better think the whole thing is...
Well, don't take too long. Oh, and Tom, don't forget to leave clues. They're very important.
Have another beer, Tom.
I don't mind if I do.
How do you like the way I fixed the tavern over? I hung up dirty curtains, you know. That makes it a dismal retreat. Because I figured if this was going to be your headquarters, it ought to be a real criminal's lair. How do you like the bloodstains on the floor?
That's only Billy Painter's root berry red paint.
I know, but it looks like bloodstains. Hey, how's the murder coming?
Not so good. I've been thinking about it, Ed. Do you realize I'm supposed to kill somebody? I'm supposed to make somebody cease to exist. I mean, like, take Mark Carpenter. Here he is today working on a schoolhouse, big fella. Now, if I kill him, well, he wouldn't work anymore. I've been trying to imagine Mark Carpenter lying on the ground with his eyes glaring open and his mouth twisted and never going to hold a piece of wood in his hands again or never going to sing a song or have a beer or anything. It just made me kind of sick. I mean, I could go on with the thieving, but murder...
Yeah, I know, but Tom, it's your job. It's for the good of the village.
Murder. I'm going to have another beer. Hey, what's that?
That must be the inspector ship landing. Come on, let's go see.
Perimeter guard advance. Set up portable generators and rocket launchers. All personnel restricted to immediate area of the ship. Sidearms to be worn at all times. And guards at battle station. Welcome to New Delaware. Thank you, General. I'm the inspector. This is Mr. Grant, my political advisor. Is this the capital of the colony? Well, I'm afraid there's only this village on the whole of New Delaware. Only one? Now, Grant, I told you when we surveyed the planet we were wasting our time. Patience. There's always an advantage in every situation. If you gentlemen are ready... Ready? You're going to inspect our village, aren't you? Inspect? I can see it all. Of course, General. We're ready. Let's inspect your village. You see, we've got it all. Jail, post office, church, little red schoolhouse. Oh, we're very normal. Very earthy. Grant, I have my efficiency rating to think of. This place is worthless. No smelting, no heavy industry, no atomics, no taxation, no, they don't have anything. I wouldn't say that, Inspector. If you'll excuse us, General. Of course. I'll be downgraded at the next colonial board. Why, this place is a utopia. It's subversive. We ought to blow it right out of the sky. No, don't be despondent, Inspector. But this whole trip is a total waste of time. Not entirely. New Delaware has a very important commodity for us. What? You saw them? Talking peasants? Nothing but farmers. Yes, strong, healthy farmers. Good cannon fodder. But... Oh. Ooh, let me take over. General? Yes, sir? How many able young men are there in the village between the ages of 15 and 16? Why? You see, General, Imperial Earth is engaged in a war. The colonies in Deng 4 are revolting against the authority of Mother Earth. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. We need good, healthy fighting men. Our reserves are depleted. We wish to give all loyal colonists a chance to fight for Mother Earth. We're sure you won't refuse. Most colonies welcome a little conscription. Cleanses the blood, reduces crime. Crime? Oh, I thought that would come up. We've taken care of that. I appointed... Now, you see, Grant, 60, 70, perhaps 100 recruits. Not such a waste of time coming here at all. Perhaps not. Sergeant, detail a squad of 50 men armed with portable heat generators to post a guard in the village. All right, Mr. Mayor. Suppose we go talk this problem over.
Staring at me, wagging his tail.
Tom, you out there? Yeah.
Most
I've
things
been
he's a
stalking
dog.
out here all day. I'm hungry. I brought you supper. The mayor sent you a message, Tom. He said to hurry up at the murder. He's been stalling the inspector and that nasty little Grant man, but they're going to ask him. They're sure to. All right. I'll get around to it. Tonight.
Hey, wait a minute. Oh, hello, Tom. What are you doing? You said there had to be a murder, so now, wait. I didn't mean me. It can't be me. Well, why not? Well, for one thing, somebody has to talk to the inspector. He's waiting for me. Someone has to show him how to do that. You think a knife would be more fatal in the heart or in the throat? Nothing personal, of course. Wait. If there's nothing personal, then you have no motive. Oh.
Well, I guess I could think of one. I've been pretty sore about you appointing me town criminal. It was the mayor who appointed you, wasn't it? Well, sure. And look, I'm not a mayor anymore. I'm a general. Look, it's stars, gold braid. Well, what's that got to do with it? Well, you missed the ceremony this afternoon, Tom. Inspector said I had to wear a general's uniform. It was a very friendly ceremony. All the Earthmen were grinning. They were winking at me and at each other.
Oh, congratulations. But you were the mayor when you appointed me criminal, so my motive still holds.
Yes, but killing a general isn't murder, it's mutiny.
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
That's all right. It's just that I've read up on it, and you haven't. Well, I better get back. The inspector wants a lot of the men that he can draft.
Are you sure this murder is necessary?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Just not me.
No luck, huh, Tom? I just can't do it. Ed, I can't kill anybody in the village. I grew up with them. I've worked with them. I've drunk root beer with them. I don't have any motive for killing any of them. I know, but you do have to commit a murder, Tom. You don't want to let the village down. But I can't kill the people I've known all my life. No, I suppose not. Wait a minute. I got an idea. Ed, suppose I kill the inspector. Well, what's your motive? Oh, it would be a very terrible crime. I'd be killing for glory, for fame, for notoriety, and it'll show Earth how earthy New Delaware really is. Why, they'll say crime is so bad here that a criminal actually killed their inspector on the very first day. Tom, that's just the sort of thing a master criminal would do. Oh, you think it's a good idea? I think it's great, Tom. But how are you going to do it? Well, one of those soldiers got drunk in a bottle of your keyword juice and dropped his gun. I picked it up. Well, is that a gun? Yeah, you push this button here. Hey, look out! Oh, sorry, Ed. Now I'll have to get the carpenter boys to fix that hole in the roof. Well, I'll be careful. Did you kill the soldier? Of course not. There's no point in killing the wrong man. Well, I better get going. I'll wait for him on the path between the mayor's house and the ship. Good luck, Tom. Thanks.
Up, 2, 3, 4. Keep an eye there. What a sloppy crew. All left feet.
Well, it's a nice night's work. Those landing parties dying like flies. We can use every new man we can get.
Don't say that.
What, are you afraid the mayor will hear me? Don't be ridiculous. A completely passive population. Keep obedient.
Look at them. No two of them would step.
What do you expect from backward agrarians? Wait till those sergeants get hold of them at the base. They'll whip them into first-class fighting men in no time.
Halt! Stand and deliver! What the? Why, it's Tom. Hands up, Inspector. I got you covered. Now the rest of you drop your guns and move out of the way. What? Now, sit here. Come on, now, drop those guns. What's the meaning of this?
Who are you?
Tom Fisher. I'm the town criminal. I'm going to kill the inspector. Now, please move out of the way. Criminal? Well, that's what the mayor was prattling about. Now, I know we haven't had any murders in 200 years, but I'm changing that now. Now, move out of the way.
Well, I suppose I'd better get out of the line of fire.
No, wait a minute. Wait. Now, don't move. I know just how to do it. I've been thinking about it. Now, I'll push this button, and you'll die. You'll fall down on the path, and your eyes will open, and your mouth twisted, and no air going in and out of your lungs, and no beat to your heart, and I can't do it. Here's your gun. Take it. I don't want it. Quick, after him. Sergeant, take a squad and search the forest.
Take it easy, Inspector. This whole planet is forest. 10,000 men couldn't find him if he doesn't want to be.
Well, I'll have him hanged on the spot. Oh, I'm terribly sorry. Sergeant, have the entire ship's company turned out. General, I want all your people out looking for him. Shoot on sight. Kill him instantly. Oh, we couldn't do that. Although we appreciate the compliment. What? That man is a criminal. That's what I'm trying to explain. I appointed him. We had to have one.
You what? You mean you had no criminal?
Well, I'm afraid not. Oh, I am terribly ashamed. You see, we knew how uncivilized we were. That's why we did it. I'm dreadfully embarrassed that Tom couldn't handle the job.
Why did you give the assignment to that particular man?
Well, I figured if anyone could kill, Tom could. He's a fisherman, you know. Pretty gory work. Oh.
And he wasn't able to kill the inspector.
Well, we just haven't had to kill anything for 200 years except fish. The only animals on New Delaware are small grass eaters, and they're not good to eat, so we never kill any of them.
Then the rest of you would be equally unable to kill?
We wouldn't even get as far as Tom. I want that man found.
Forget about it, Inspector.
What?
We gotta get away from here. Men in our armor can't kill. Oh, think of it. A morale problem. The possibility of infection. One man in a key position endangering a key ship or maybe a whole fleet because he can't kill. It isn't worth the risk, Inspector. Yes, sir. I see what you mean. Order your troops back to the ship. We'll take off at once.
Tom! Tom, you can come out now. Tom, they're gone. He's hiding around here somewhere, Mayor. Yeah. Tom! Tom! Here I am.
I'm sorry, I bungled it.
Well, don't feel bad about it. It was an impossible job. I'm afraid it was. I thought that just possibly you could swing it, but you can't be blamed, Tom. There's not another man in the village who could have done the job even as well. What are we going to do with all those buildings, Mayor? The jail, the post office, the little red schoolhouse, the church? Well, I think we'll build a playground for the kids with swings and slides and sandboxes for them.
Another playground?
Surely, why not?
Well, I guess I won't be needing my skulking permit anymore.
No, I guess not. Well, we did our best.
I had the chance, then I let you all down.
It's not your fault, Tom. Look how long it took Earth to get civilized. Thousands of years. And we were trying to do it in 2 weeks. Well, we'll just have to go back to being uncivilized.
Yeah.
Well, we better get back to the village. Looks like rain.
Well, soon I'll start fishing again. Say.
What is it, Tom?
Well, it's too late now, but it's too bad I didn't think of it before. I might have been able to go through with it.
Think of what, Tom?
I think I could have done it. If I'd only had the sense to think of the inspector as a fish. Well, it's too late now. Guess he's just a big one. He's got away.
You've just heard X-1, presented by the National Broadcasting Company, in cooperation with Galaxy Science Fiction Magazine, which this month features an unusual story by James E. Gunn, Cylana, a story of what happened when crime suddenly invaded a crimeless society, and where the only way to catch a thief was to manufacture a thief. Galaxy Magazine, on your newsstand today. Tonight, by transcription, X-1 has brought you Skulking Permit, a story from the pages of Galaxy, written by Robert SICKLY and adapted for radio by Ernest Kanoy. Featured in the cast were Dick Hamilton, Wendell Holmes, Joe DeSantis, Joseph Boland, Alan Hewitt, Bill Quinn, Mandel Kramer, and Ruby Dee. Your announcer, Jack Costello. X-1 was directed by Daniel Sutter and is an NBC Radio Network production. Let's visit Fibber McGee and Molly tonight.
You're listening to Chin Radio AM 1540, the voice of multicultural Toronto, bringing you the latest updates on COVID-19. Stay informed, stay safe, and stay tuned to Chin Radio AM 1540.
The story you are about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all king-size cigarettes, brings you Dragnet on both radio and television.
You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned a bunco detail. An experienced confidence man has set up operations in your city. From his first 2 victims, he gets more than $8,000. You've got one good lead on the suspect, his method of operation. Your job, get him.
Prove Fatima quality yourself today.
Compare Fatima with any other king-size cigarette.
You'll find Fatima's length filters the smoke 85 millimeters for your protection.
Fatima's length cools the smoke for your protection.
You'll find Fatima's length gives you those extra puffs, 21% longer than standard cigarette size.
And in Fatima, You get an extra mild and soothing smoke, plus the added protection of Fatima quality.
Remember, Fatima gives you more for your money.
Buy Fatima in the bright, sunny yellow pack. Best of all, king-size cigarettes.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case transcribed from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Tuesday, December 9th. It was windy in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of Bunko Detail. My partner's Ed Jacobs. The boss is Captain Steve. My name's Friday. I was on the way into the office, and it was 7:50 a.m. when I got to room 38. Bunko Detail.
Morning, Joe.
Hi, Charlie. How'd you make out yesterday?
Nothing.
No luck at all, huh?
Nothing's going to help us much. Got the same description on the guy. Used the same name, same M.O. Didn't get anything we don't already know about him. How about you? Your luck any better?
About the same. Checked out the building where the suspect rented office space. He moved out 3 days ago. No forwarding address. Checked the hotel he was supposed to be stopping at. Didn't pan out.
Give him time. He'll stick his neck out again.
Well, it doesn't guarantee we'll reach him. Too late to start when the complaints come in. We're going to have to dig up a faster way of getting to him.
Hey, you got a match?
Yeah, sure, Charlie. Here.
Thanks.
Too bad.
Oh, by the way, what's this I hear about your partner?
What?
Ed Jacobs, understands you're losing.
Oh, yeah, temporarily anyway.
What's the deal?
Well, he's going on a loan out up at the academy. Going to be an instructor up there 2 months anyway, maybe more.
When does this happen?
Tomorrow, the 10th.
What are you going to do for a partner? You and Ken going to work together?
No, the captain's bringing in a new man, young fella. He's been working in the business office.
You mean the big Irish kid works the early morning?
No, this boy's been working days. His name's Bill Lockwood. I asked for him as soon as I found out I was going to lose Ed.
You know him?
Well, a little bit, yeah. You remember Ben Romero?
Yeah, sure.
Well, Lockwood's a nephew of Ben's, his sister's boy. Tall, red hair.
Oh, yeah, I've seen him around. Seems to be a nice enough kid. A good record, isn't it?
Well, the captain thinks so. Figures he ought to work in pretty well.
Oh, by the way, have you seen Ben's wife lately?
Yeah, I did. A couple weeks ago. Seems to be doing all right. Still Mrs. Ben, of course.
Yeah, I imagine.
Her little boy's sure getting big. Looks a lot like his dad, too.
Miss him quite a bit yourself, huh?
Yeah, Charlie, I guess I do.
Well, I better get on my horse. I got some checking to do. I hope the Lockwood boy works out for you.
Well, I think he'll do all right.
Can't say I'd be crazy about the idea myself.
What do you mean?
Breaking in a new man. No detective experience. When I go out to pick up a thief, I like to figure I've got some good backing. I think a partner I'm used to. Tough enough watching out for yourself, let alone a green youngster.
Well, somebody had to do it for us. That's the way it goes.
Yeah, I suppose.
I remember when I first started. It didn't come much greener than me. Partner did all the work, took all the chances, helped me every foot of the way. He never mentioned it once. I never forgot that. He's a good cop.
What was his name?
Ben Romero. In our particular setup, before a man's eligible to apply for duty in the Detective Bureau, he has to have a minimum of 5 years' experience as a police officer, either assigned to radio patrol, traffic duty, or some other general assignment. After the initial 5 years of service, the men go through a screening process to determine which department and which job they'll fit into best, some position that they seem to show a natural aptitude for. If a man applies for duty in a division of the Detective Bureau, and if he's accepted, he's assigned a partner to work with the day he goes on the job, generally a working detective with some experience. In the case of Ben's nephew, Bill Lockwood, he put in his first 5 years working Wilshire traffic and also doing radio patrol in Hollenbeck and 77th Street divisions. After spending another 11 months in our business office, Captain Steed put in a request for him, and he was transferred. When I heard Ed Jacobs was going to be loaned to the police academy as an instructor, I talked to Captain Steed about Lockwood, and he assigned him as my new partner. The changeover happened in the middle of one of the toughest investigations we'd had in months. A bunco artist who was working hard at the business opportunities racket. The following morning, December 10th, Bill Lockwood reported in for work, and we drove out to check a potential lead on the suspect. On the way, I laid out the case for him.
Nothing on the man in R&I, huh? No record at all?
No, not as far as we know, Bill. Checked Brereton up at Sacramento, CII, nothing doing there. He couldn't help us.
What have you been going on? His description?
Yeah, that and his M.O. and his name. He uses a different alias on each job. Russell Preston, that was the last name he used.
I see. He usually starts by putting a want ad in the paper, is that it?
Well, he rents himself an office first, usually pretty expensive when well furnished. Then he hires a good-looking secretary, has her put a want ad in the daily papers for him, and he's in business.
How do the ads read? The usual?
Yeah, typical thing you see in the daily paper. A business opportunity for people with vision, good investment, high profits, apply now, you know. And then he gives his address and phone number. There's nothing clever about it, but people still go for it.
He give many replies, do you know?
Well, we figure he got between 20 and 30 on that last deal he pulled. Seems all he has to do is land one victim out of the bunch with enough money, and he's got it made. Took his first victim here for $5,000. Second one for $3,200. Both elderly women. Took them for their last dollar.
About the way he sets up the deal with these different businessmen, Joe, I don't think I got it quite straight.
What do you mean?
Well, say the owner of that manufacturing plant this Russell Preston lined up.
Yeah.
You say Preston went to the plant, introduced himself as a business advisor, told the owner of the plant he had some people with money to invest. He convinced the owner he was legitimate.
Yeah, that's right.
Then Preston had his two victims shown through the plant and convinced them they ought to invest their money in the business.
Yeah, that's it.
Do you mean to say the plant owners were acting in good faith?
Well, they were all checked out, Bill. Everything about them. They all have good business reputation. They didn't know any more about the deal than the victims. They needed more capital for their business, and they figured this was it.
This Preston, or whatever his name is, he sure must have a line that won't stop.
He's got everything that goes with it. Nice clothes, well-mannered, good-looking. He doesn't try to high-pressure anybody. Tells them if they have confidence in him, he'd be glad to invest their money. If they hedge it all, he shows them right through the office.
Pretty good pitch. Once they're sold on him, he's got them over a barrel.
It's about the size of it, yeah.
Funny there's no record on him. Sure sounds like he's had a lot of experience. What are the other names he's used, you remember?
Well, just two of them we know of. Russell R. Preston and George A. Fairchild.
I guess the newspapers have been checked out, huh? The ones he ran the what ads in?
Yeah, they've all been talked to. All their personnel have been notified to watch for ads of that type. Be one way to get a lead on him if he tries again.
Well, what about the buildings where he rented office space? Couldn't the people there help any?
Well, they confirmed his description. We picked up samples of his handwriting. That's about it. He only rented the offices long enough to cover his deal, about 2 weeks. See, what 100 block is this, Bill? Can you see over there?
Let's see. Yeah, 1700.
Oh, we want the next one, 1811.
Who's this woman we're going to talk to? Vivian Castle, is that right?
Yeah. I'm not sure if she's the right girl or not. Got the lead from an employment agency. Chance she might be the girl Preston hired to be a secretary. I don't know.
Oh, good parking place up there ahead, huh?
Yeah, that's good. You pull up anywhere along here. It's fine.
Two doors down, Joe. Real estate office, 1811.
Yeah, I see it. Good morning.
Good morning. Can I help you?
Police officers, ma'am. We'd like to talk to a Miss Castle, Vivian Castle.
Oh, I'm Vivian Castle.
There's our identification. This is my partner, Officer Lockwood. My name's Friday.
How do you do?
How do you do? What is it you want, officers?
We'd like to find out if you know a George Fairchild, ma'am.
Fairchild? No, I don't know anyone by that name.
How about a Russell Preston, miss? That mean anything to you?
Oh, I used to work for Mr. Preston, Russell Preston.
About how long ago was that?
A month and a half ago.
Mm-hmm. Where does he have his offices?
Well, he did have them on the South Grand near 8th, the old Belmont Harris building. Why?
Would you mind describing Mr. Preston for us, ma'am? Just a general description of him.
He was about 40, 45 years old. Brown hair, a little gray. Nice build. Seemed to be a very nice man at first. Always dressed so nice. Just wore a dark blue suit. Seemed to be very nice.
Checks out so far, Joe.
Yeah.
Would you mind telling me what it's about?
We'd like to locate Mr. Preston, ma'am. You any idea where he is now?
I wish I did. I'd call the State Labor Commission. He seemed like such a nice man. I've never been so disappointed in my life.
How do you mean, Miss Castle?
He owes me 2 weeks' pay, $65 a week. Hired me as a private secretary. Good jobs aren't hard to get now either. He can't say he was giving me a break when he hired me. Are you from the Labor Commission?
No, ma'am, we're not. Could you tell us how long you worked for this Mr. Preston?
Just 3 weeks. He said I was going to get paid every Friday. Gave me the money for the first week, and that's all. Kept waiting for my pay, but he kept putting me off. Last week and a half, he didn't even show up at the office. I was there all alone, 8 hours a day. Finally, the building manager showed up and told me it was all over. Mr. Preston had closed the office. Didn't even have the decency to come in and say thank you, goodbye. I just left.
And you have no idea at all where Mr. Preston is now?
No, sir, I wish I did.
Were there any office files, mail files, any way to get a possible line on him?
Not as far as I know. I didn't keep any files for him. And in fact, I didn't do any work at all. Just a showpiece. I guess that's all he kept me there for. There's no reason why he shouldn't pay me, though. Are you sure you're not from the Labor Commission?
Did Mr. Preston ever have you place any want ads in the daily papers, Miss Castle?
Yeah, he did a couple of times. Ads for business opportunities, you know. He was in the investment business, helped people invest their money.
Would you happen to know anyone who invested money with him? I mean, would you know them by name?
No, not by name. Quite a few people came through the office. I know a few of them made deals with Mr. Preston. I wouldn't remember their names, though.
And you don't know any friends he might have had in town? Any of his business associates?
No, sir, not a one. I didn't know he had any associates.
How about where he was staying, Miss Castle? You must have known that.
Yeah, the first week I was there, I did. It's the only week I got paid for. He was staying at a small hotel on South Flower. Moved the next week, though. I don't know where he went after that. Neither does the hotel. I asked them.
Well, during the time you worked for him, ma'am, did you ever have anything to do with Mr. Preston socially? I mean, was it part of your job to go out to dinner with him, things like that?
I did once or twice when he asked me. I didn't think it was part of my job, though. Mr. Preston didn't mention it either. Once we went out to dinner, just the two of us. Another time we went out with my girlfriend, Norma. I had a terrible time. Mr. Preston was awful.
And how do you mean, miss?
Well, he drank too much and was throwing his weight around. You know, the boss. And he kept making a play for my girlfriend, Norma. I think he liked her quite a bit. Sure was embarrassing, though. Oh, look, would you mind telling me what's the matter? Is Mr. Preston in trouble with the police?
Yes, ma'am, I'm afraid so. He's cheated some people out of quite a bit of money. It's not the first time either.
Well, what was it? What did he do?
Confidence scheme. Selling interest in a company he had no connection with.
If that isn't the limit. I guess it's my own fault. I should have known better. It's happened before.
Well?
They hire you. They give you a beautiful office, nice soft chair to sit on. They never give you any work to do. You don't have to lift a finger. I finally got the drift.
Yeah.
Those are the kind you have to watch out for.
Bill Lockwood and I continued questioning the former secretary of Russell Preston, alias George Fairchild, but she was unable to come up with any kind of a definite lead as to the suspect's whereabouts. We left our card with the girl, and she promised to contact us in the event she came across any information regarding Preston. For the rest of the day, we ran down 3 more possible leads. They came from an informant, a head waiter in a second-rate nightclub, a small-time grifter with an axe to grind. And they all figured they had the right answer, where to find Preston. We checked out the 3 locations they gave us, a motel out near Santa Monica, a rooming house in Hollywood, a cocktail lounge in Highland Park. Not one of the 3 paid off. Russell Preston, alias George Fairchild, wasn't known at any of the places, either by name, dress, or physical description. During the next 3 weeks, along with Sergeant Charlie Riblett and Ken Scarce of Bunko Detail, Bill Lockwood and I ran down every possible lead on the suspect. Hotels, the want-ad departments of the daily papers, managers of downtown office buildings, secretarial employment agencies, small businesses advertising stock for sale. They got us nothing. Despite all the precautions and all the legwork, on January 6th, we got a call from a Mrs. Marie Barrett in the Westlake Park area. She owned and managed a toy shop just off Wilshire Boulevard. Bill Lockwood and I drove out to talk to her.
Yes, they told me it was the opportunity of a lifetime, a big opportunity. I just can't believe it. Can't understand it. Why he even took me out and showed me the factory. Even the man who ran the place, they're making plastics. Showed me the whole plant.
See, the plant was out in Glendale now. Whereabouts?
Well, it was right along San Fernando Road, maybe a mile or 2 before you get to the airport. They showed me through the whole plant.
Who showed you through it there?
Owner of the place in this, Mr. Fairchild. A big place making plastics of all kinds. Can't say I wasn't impressed.
What was Mr. Fairchild's first name? Do you remember?
George Fairchild and Associates. That was the name of the door of the office when I went up to see him. Of course, I really didn't have a notion to invest any money when I first went up. It was a newspaper ad, you know, and I answered lots of them. Kind of a hobby with me.
Yes, ma'am.
So I went up to see him and we talked. And as I say, I wasn't thinking of investing any money, but Mr. Fairchild seemed like such a nice man. Seemed to have a good business head on his shoulders. Well, ended up with me putting my whole savings account into the plastics plant. $6,400, every penny of it. I haven't heard from Mr. Fairchild since. I just don't know what to think. I can't understand it.
Do you have any idea where the